You know, you got to give Nick credit. He went on stream last night, bent over and shoved a giant veiny black cock right up his asshole just to simp for his girl. I don't mean the mother of his children, by the way. I mean the one he loves more. He went and himself in front of the entire internet just so he could bitch about Kiwi Farms. And because here's what happened. Yesterday at the Rekieta house, after that court hearing, there was a lot of effeminate bitching. And then the girls started talking. Boo, Aaron, come on. You know what? Low-hanging fruit. Not proud of it. If I was Nick, I would have paused and taken a sip. It's low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit. But there was a lot of, April was mad because Nick probably told her this would get dismissed. And then April's probably running around, that isn't fair and it's not right. Because here's what I know about April and Nick. Nothing they've ever done has ever been their fault. Everyone is always doing something to them. Even when April got arrested, first thing she texted me, because I told her, I go, now it's never been more evident. You have to get out of there. This is going to drag you down. And we were getting divorced. There was no reason for me to, sugarcoat it or anything like that. I'm like, you got to get the fuck out of there. I don't know what you're doing. And she just wrote back, my charges were dropped. I'm not an addict. Somebody did this to me. It's like, you got arrested with cocaine with your name on it, on your cards, and you're still not going to take any responsibility for anything. When I would text her and say she's got to get off of drugs, she would never even acknowledge she's ever heard of cocaine ever. She would say, I'm healthy. I'm a healthy person. I've been gaining weight, blah, blah. It's like, you can't talk to that kind of a person because they're just not square dealing. They're just not honest. You're sitting there going to a person, hey, the shit you've been doing is unhealthy. What should I have been doing? And you're like, all right. And then you start to resent them because you go, now you're treating me like a retard. Like I don't know what stop it. And so April was seething her ass off and blaming anyone she could yesterday. So Nick felt like he had to go on stream to protect his main girl, April. Sorry, Kayla, you're not. Not at least in his mind. So Nick goes on stream and again, himself and his case to make April feel better, which I guess in a way is kind of sweet. I mean, when you're dealing with people with this low of an intellect, I guess that's sweet. This would be like if Jenny and Forrest were both retarded and Forrest went on and was just like, she got molested by her dad and just told the whole world that. And you're like, Jesus Christ, dude, you don't need to, there's no reason to talk like that. But he went on last night and I've seen some clips. I read some farms this morning. Oh boy. Apparently, he played John DiCaprio from Win by Two's version of the April hearing. And April was obviously in the room. She was corner demoning because she wanted to hear Nick and simp for her and, dance puppet. Some days April's in charge, some days Nick's in charge. You know who's never in charge? Kayla. So I guess John DiCaprio, Win by Two, held up the cutout of April. And he's now blackened out one of her eyes because, I'm dropping the headbutts. He's blacking out. So he held that up and then played a clip of me going, another win for the toe. After the dismissal, the judge dismissed the motion. And then Nick just shut it off. Like he was going to lean in and react to the whole thing. And instead it was just another win for the toe. And then he's done with it. I don't know, man. There's something about me that still just gets this guy. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Malcolm X says Nick treats Kayla like yesterday's potato salad. Sad. Yeah. I wonder what Nick would have done if Kayla would have said, don't stream tonight. Could you just be with me? She doesn't need you to go out there and simp for her tonight. I'd like you to be with me and maybe we could talk about our stuff and our case. Nick wouldn't have done it. I don't think he would have stayed with her. I think he still would have went and streamed and like, I gotta find Bubba. Indus Buzz says, you don't know how Nick treats Kayla. Really, Indus Buzz? I know you're wrong about just about everything, but I've watched that man walk out of a bathroom after screaming at her and then point at me and go, you can go in there and fix her. which is, when I think about that story, I go, that's like the shittiest thing I've ever heard a guy do, like to his wife in front of other people. Like, what a shit. And I think the first thing I said when I went in there is, I go, you don't need to be fixed. Now, some people would probably look at me and go, Aaron, you were a little wrong on that one. You might be incorrect. And I'm like, you're trying to be sensitive, as it were. McBuster says they are trying to say she wasn't living there at the time. Her stuff is all over the pics of the house for sale. Cocaine was on her credit cards. She was there, and she broadcast that Zoom from Nick's. Well, her and I were talking after she came here and got her stuff. I mean, I have the texts. I mean, she was bringing that stuff to the house in Spicer. She even said, like, oh, I'm going to unload this stuff in Spicer and move it into the house. I mean, you and I slept in their bed for how long? Look, guys, gross. I know, it's disgusting, but facts are facts. Can't run from them. Bird Collector says for Nick to continue to go online and talk about this is called mental illness. Well, nobody ever said he was not guilty of that one. Dissident says he's going to say anything to keep her from rolling on him, just like he keeps doing to his audience to keep them paying for his defense. Oh, mommy and daddy's money pays for that defense. Believe me. SC Motorsports says April looked very bothered that she had to be there, looked a little twitchy. You could tell Nick was standing there with her, and she even had held back a smirk at the end of the hearing. Yeah, the tits fart. She thought the tits fart thing was funny. She just liked her tits being talked about. Like she doesn't really grasp the seriousness of those situations. And someone told me yesterday, they're like, that's narcissism. I'm like, narcissism, not all the way. But like, just like even in that serious moment being like, they're talking about my tits. Like she does like attention from all men. She does like getting her body noticed. Why do you think in every picture her arm is turned out to show her totally rad new tattoo? But like to do it in a court where you're on felony drug charges, that is kind of missing the point of what you're there for. She did look bothered though. She was blinking a whole ton, but I mean, that is a stressful situation, to be fair. And she looked good, like physical appearance was good. She looked great. Yeah, you're going to be twitchy. She looked like she was holding back tears a few days. She was having a tough time, and she was trying to put on a proud face for the world because she knew a lot of people were watching, waiting to see up or something. So I get it. Dissident says the look on her face when the judge said random drug testing. They can't be getting away with doing drugs right now, can they? I don't know enough about that life. But, I mean, he's got to be tested to have those kids, to quote Red Bar. They can't be doing drugs. I mean, prescription stimulants maybe, but, like, they can't. There's no way they can be getting around that testing, right? Well, I mean, I guess addicts do it all the time. I didn't notice a face when the judge said random drug testing because the testing includes alcohol. Like, you can't drink either. So, I don't know if I didn't notice a face that was much different from the rest of the hearing, but you could be right. April had that same exact facial expression she had toward the end of being on this show. Nick has basically been getting kicked in the dick in front of the entire internet by Montygraph for a long time now, and it doesn't show any signs of slowing down. So what does Nick do? He goes on his stream last night and accuses old Jersh from Kiwi Farms, old Null, Josh Moon, accuses him of watching animated CP, animated Clyde Pearson. You know what? Why not double down? Nick knows what he's doing, guys. He's a lawyer after all. Let's play this clip from Malcolm X, my old friend. The haggard, the worn. He looks... Now look, I'm a fair arbiter here because I don't dislike... I nothing Nick at this point. I watch him as a story. And I did say, regarding April, I thought she looked great yesterday. Nick looks like he's in his 50s. Nick looks like hammered shit. And last night, from what I've read, the opinion is near universal. It was a seethe stream. He was losing it. And is continuing to lose it. He's not really losing it. He lost it. Now he's just kind of staying in that lane, sort of. Let's check this out.
One person on Kiwi Farms, like a year after I told this story, created the detail that I confronted this, or that this happened in an elevator. And then it became that I confronted this judge in an elevator. And then the story on Kiwi Farms most recently is that, like, I aggressively confronted a judge in an because
Nick, sweetie baby, stop reading your Kiwi Farms thread, you narcissist. You can't handle it. You openly let them know that they're bothering you. You send messages to their main guy. Like, he wasn't texting you anymore. He wasn't writing to you anymore. So you wrote to him to go, I thought you were going to block me. You're a girl, dude. You got to stop reading Kiwi Farms. I read your Kiwi Farms thread. It's fun. It's entertaining. But you know whose Kiwi Farms thread I don't read? My own. Because I'm sure sprinkled in there is mildly positive things, but you know what the overwhelming majority of it's going to be? What a gay F word and a retard I am. I'd rather not read those things. And this is the problem you have, Nick. A lot of those things on Kiwi Farms about you are going to be true. And they're going to be things that you don't want people to know. And they're true. They're going to be feelings you have deep inside that you thought you've been hiding. So don't read them. You've clearly shown you can't handle it. Now, in fairness, if I read my Kiwi Farms thread and I read some of the shit they say about me, I could probably come on here and have a good sense of humor about it, but I don't want to see it. You know, I have no problem admitting that. I don't want to see them be mean about me. I've seen some of the visits I make, some of the cameos I make in Nick's Kiwi Farms, and a lot of those are relatively positive. You know, one guy wrote yesterday about my Instagram post where I took a picture of the studio and said, don't worry, I'm just visiting. He said, oh, Steel Toe stacking W's lately. And I was like, good, that's all I want to read about Steel Toe today. Don't mention me again. But Nick reads his Kiwi Farms thread and then comes online to tell other people about his Kiwi Farms thread and why it pisses him off. Dude, stop reading it. What are you doing? I was reading Kiwi Farms the other day, and now, first of all, there's a chunk of his audience that doesn't know what the Kiwi Farms is. So he's sitting there. You ever watch someone rant and seethe about something and you have no idea what the situation is? So you're just kind of sitting there nodding, and then they go, oh, so you agree with me? And you're like, yeah, sure. But in reality, you're going, what the fuck is he talking about? So Nick goes on there and goes, Kiwi Farms, a year after I told this story, Kiwi Farms started saying that I did this and I did it. Okay, Nick, does it matter that they're saying that? Does it matter? No, it doesn't matter that they're saying it. They could say you brought a pig. You brought 3 pigs into the courthouse, numbered 1, 2, and 4, and you let them loose in the courthouse and played a hilarious prank. And if that never happened, it still doesn't matter because it's people on a message board on the internet.
This sounds like a reasonable thing for an attorney to do, is to aggressively confront a judge in an elevator.
Nick, you got shit-faced and coked out on stream and said that a judge had liquor coming out of her pussy. You're not exactly the most reliable guy for responsible shit an attorney would do. He's talking like he has credibility and the benefit of the doubt should be given to him. Quite the opposite. If someone tells me a crazy Nick did a retarded thing story, I go, well, I clearly have to believe this until I'm proven otherwise.
Especially when I'm like a larger man and the judge is a smaller woman.
So what? Your wife's like 5 feet, 5'2", and you stood over her and screamed at her. You cornered her in my bathroom and were screaming at her. And she's probably shorter than this judge is. So what does size have to do with it? You stood right over her and were screaming at her while I was standing in the bathroom with a baseball bat telling you to back the fuck off because you were acting like a lunatic. And then you walked away and started hitting yourself in my kitchen. You goddamn psychopath.
Height-wise, like we're talking about a pretty significant difference here.
Nick, if that judge didn't give you your way and didn't agree with you, I could 100% see you berating her in an elevator. Yes, and Nick's like, does that sound like a reasonable thing for an attorney to do? No, but it sounds like a reasonable thing for you to do. I have no problem believing that story. Why did you take down your wife's beautiful gift she gave you, too? To put up a gaudy, shitty Joker painting and a Johnny Depp painting to remind you of, what you lost. Your wife spent a load of money on a beautiful gift for you, a beautiful painting, and you took it down. Why? Because there's alcohol bottles on it? You're still drinking, retard.
The suggestion that I confronted this judge in an elevator and aggressively berated her for this thing is fucking ludicrous.
Yes, for a normal person. But I have bad news. You're not a normal boy. I know your mommy and daddy told you were different. They were right, but not in the way they think they were.
But this is people's headcanon on Kiwi Farms, around me. Now, look, I'm not.
People think I headbutt bitches. It's something that's out there. It's part of being a public figure. People say dumb shit. It happens. Own it. Who gives a... This guy reads his Kiwi Farms thread, and then he goes, I have to control the way these people think. That's why Drex is gone. That's why all of your friends are gone. That's why you have 2 women that you can browbeat and brainwash, and that's all you got. And for a whole summer, you didn't even have kids you could do that to, which, that's a different topic for a different day, poor kids. But you do this to people, Nick. You obsess over what they think about you, and you don't let people have space and ownership of the way they think, because you're worried the way they think might not work out best for you, so you have to immediately get in there and start with them. That's why you lose everybody.
Not doing the thing where it's like, oh, Nick found this thing. He's gonna say that everything. No, it's just this is an example. This is an example of part of the problem that I was trying to tell Josh about, a year and a half ago,
From
before
the
he
shower.
started looking at Shota again or whatever he does.
Shota is... I had to learn this. I didn't know what this was because I'm not a gay dork. It's animated CP, I guess. That's good, Nick. That accusation always works out really well for you. The guy, you're watching a man out of control is what's happening. You're watching a man out of control.